Morning, YouTube. Well, today we're going to visit Appomattox Courthouse. It's a reconstructed village from the time best known for where General Lee surrendered to Grant and basically ended the Civil War. There were still a few more armies. Last one didn't surrender until June 2nd down in Texas. But this was the biggie. This is the one that signaled the end of the war. Behind me, you got the actual reconstructed courthouse. Most of these buildings have been reconstructed. There's a few that are originals, and we're going to visit that. And over there, that's the most important building. That is the McLean House, where the surrender took place. Also reconstructed because some entrepreneurs decided it'd be a good idea to tear it down and move it to Washington, D.C. Never did. Left a big pile. Many years go by. Most of that big pile of timber and brick disappeared. So it was reconstructed. In the 1930s, National Parks Service decided to they convinced Congress that it would be a good idea, we'll walk up this way, be a good idea to reconstruct it as a National Historic Site. It got stalled a little bit during World War II, but afterwards it was, over the years, reconstructed as you see it now. So we're going to take a walk around. I'm going to go up here, listen to, or take a tour. Goes over to the McLean House because that is not open except for when a guided tour goes through. So it's about to start. This is a free site. It does not cost anything to come here and visit this. So if you're down in middle of Virginia near Lynchburg, swing over. So let's we'll go inside. Army of the Potomac was coming up from this way. Sheridan's army was coming this way. Union forces all around. There's no place for him to go. He tried to send somebody up. Next town is Appomattox Station. Tried to send somebody up to there to get to the train load of supplies. His men were starving. Sheridan's army got there first. Got that. But he sent a note to Grant saying maybe we should talk, and arranged time to get here at 1. And Lee showed up. He was a 4-star general, and he showed up, perfect uniform, polished saber, everything, with one man, one subordinate, and Grant showed up in his field uniform, which was a private's uniform with 2 stars. So he basically, the terms were with dignity. They let the officers keep their weapons. All the men had to turn in their weapons and material. But if they owned their own horses, they were allowed to take them home, because most of the Confederates, after all, were farmers. So let's go take a look at some of the other buildings around.
That isn't the same period, yeah. And from what everybody described, that font we used to have right next to the door to the and the meeting was over at 3 o'clock.
These printing presses are set up to print the parole slips for the Confederates. Imagine, there are 30,000 Confederates, and you can see blank parole or blank parole forms that are filled out. 30,000 Confederates just surrendered, and they don't want to be taken prisoner because they are on their way home. But for them, the war is over. So they spent 4 days, I believe, printing these up. And that way, each individual man would have one, and basically gives them safe travel back home. So the house behind me is the Pierce house, and the last shots by the Confederate artillery were fired from this yard at advancing Union troops. There were very few men killed on that last day of battle, but can you imagine going through some years of war and only to be killed right at the very end? They're not sure who was the last one, but a private William Montgomery of the 155th Pennsylvania was 19 years old when he was struck and killed by a cannon shell on the morning of April 9th. So, yeah, it's sad. On this knoll behind me, Lee and Grant met for the second time here at Appomattox. Grant wanted Lee to use his influence to try to get other Confederate armies to surrender. Lee, on the other hand, wanted to safeguard his men and refused to help Grant with the other armies. I said earlier, one army in Texas fought on until June 2nd, so it was a few more months. This is a spot where Lee mentioned that he had 700 Union soldiers as prisoners, and unfortunately couldn't feed them because he couldn't feed his own men. Grant didn't realize just how desperate the Confederates were at that time, so he ordered rations for the 30,000 Confederates be brought up so that Lee's men at least could have something to eat. This is where they also decided on the paroles, which you just saw earlier. But I was here on this spot. Also, this is the the Richmond-Lynchburg stage road. Went through the village, and this is where General Joshua Chamberlain of the Union watched the Confederates coming from that direction up the road. When they got to this, he ordered his men to honor the Confederate soldiers that were coming to surrender their arms. And General Gordon of the Confederates, who was one of the few that actually was here that really wasn't a military officer before the war. He was a lawyer in Georgia. He wanted to keep fighting, but when this happened, he ordered his men to return the salute. So basically, it was the common soldier honoring his brothers that just happened to be on the other side. So, pretty fitting end to this particular part of the war. Give you a little 360. And the sun. Courthouse, tavern, mercantile, and of course back to the McLean house where the surrender happened. So, well, see you later, YouTube.